Welcome to In the House. On this episode, I speak with Ryan Steele of Architectural Tile and Stone about how deep her family roots go in the tile and stone business. We discuss how she found herself back in the family business as its new owner after working for a healthcare design firm. Ryan walks me through their design process and what you should expect whether they complete the installation or if you decide to go with somebody else. Ryan then leaves us with her hopes for the future of the business as well as the construction industry. I hope you like this episode. Thanks for listening. Upgrade your construction layouts with Trademarks. These heavy-duty vinyl markers are designed to withstand harsh job site conditions. They're durable, waterproof, and perfect for marking locations for electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and more. Available in trade-specific colors, Trademarks make communication with your team simple, professional, and reliable. Whether you're recording benchmarks, elevations, or centerlines, Trademarks ensure your layouts stay intact, even under heavy traffic. New customers enjoy 15% off at checkout. Visit trademarklayout.com to get yours today. Quick question. Did you happen to go to COTA this weekend?
I did not.
No, you didn't go.
No, I was tempted just because of Eminem, but
really, yeah, I heard he was in town.
Yeah. My husband races trucks, so it's kind of in the family. So I don't necessarily need to attend a race because it's a
you do
weekly,
it so often.
Yeah, it's a monthly thing for us. Yeah.
He races trucks, like drag racing?
Trophy trucks.
Trophy trucks.
Through the desert.
That? Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's an expensive sport to be in.
Yeah, it is, but he owns a shop, so,
okay.
He sponsors himself, and I've driven the truck before.
Do you do some of the racing?
I did a few years ago to help support breast cancer research.
Oh, very cool.
And I won.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Where do y'all race?
El Paso.
El Paso.
He goes to the big races in Vegas and hopefully soon Baja as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he's the cool parent between the two.
Oh, that's not true. You got out there and did it though. I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I wanted to just jump right in. So your father started Architectural Tile and Stone, still the owner to this day, right?
Actually, I am.
You're the owner.
Yes. So a little bit of background about myself.
Yeah, I want to dive in there.
So I am third generation in the tile business. My grandfather founded a company called Materials Marketing, and today it's known as Materials. And so all of the sons, all divided and conquered, basically, and all over Texas. And then Materials Marketing kind of grew a little bit, and my father and one of his brothers decided to do something a little bit different. So fast forward a few years, my dad started Architectural Tile and Stone 25 years ago.
Wow.
And I started working for the company when I was in high school, updating price books and grouting tile boards, and I realized I'm terrible at grouting. So
me too.
The amount of water just did me wrong.
Yeah.
So, that was not meant to be for me.
Yeah.
But after graduating college, I went to Houston and worked for a healthcare design firm. And so my degree is in interior design. And spent a little bit of time there. Also found out that healthcare is not for me.
No, really?
There's too many codes and things that were get in the way of the design flow, and that was not necessarily what I wanted to do with my life. But I went to work at Gensler doing oil and energy projects, which is probably the greatest experience I could have ever asked for.
Really?
And doing a lot of project management there. So again, fast forward a few years, and my father said, well, you can come to Austin and take over the company, or I need to sell it. So it was kind of a big, life-changing decision there.
I bet.
And I don't know that I necessarily thought that I would be doing that when I graduated. I think that's why I wanted to work at a design firm, is I wanted to see what I could do. And how far I could take things and make an impact. And what I realized is what I was good at was project management.
Oh, okay.
Not as much the design side of things.
Okay.
So, but I had to go through that process to figure it out.
Sure.
So I ended up moving to Austin with my husband. I think as of a month, we had been married.
Oh, wow. That is a big jump.
And as I mentioned, he was racing, and at the time doing Formula Drift. And so he was on the circuit traveling the country while I'm, jumping into this business. And so I've worked for the company officially for 11 years.
Okay.
And signed all the paperwork 2 years ago to become the new owner, while my father is still, his name is Steve, is still on staff as kind of a consultant as needed. He is definitely playing out his days on the golf course instead of in the office. But yeah.
What kind of project management experience did you get at Gensler?
So first when I started, I was hired as more of a CAD monkey.
Okay.
They didn't know me and I didn't know them, and I was young and trying to figure out what I was good at. And along came a project. It's called the El Paso Project. And it was a 32-story building downtown Houston. And they needed a refresh. And so we, from ground up, they started with a fitness center, and then, that had basement levels and the occupant spaces, since it was one tenant, and then the executive floors at the top. So as I was going through the plans, I started gravitating more towards the people and the consultants. And I started managing all of the new plans that had gone out to everybody, all the updates, everything that took place.
Yeah.
And I got into this really great rhythm and figured out how to work really well with all of the consultants. And before I knew it, I kind of landed into this position of overseeing what they were doing and helping them through the process. And I got great feedback from them. And as much as I thought I wanted to do design, my bosses and everyone was saying, no, you should probably stick to project management.
Right.
And so I had done some great projects there. And then El Paso sold to Kinder Morgan. Okay. And so everything I had spent 5 years doing, I had to redo for a new tenant, which was kind of funny. But at the same time, I thought, if anybody's going to do it, I'd rather be the one to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that I can take that ownership of something. So along working on those projects, I also worked on Shell, the campus that they had down there.
Okay.
And then some other smaller oil and energy companies. I dabbled in the law offices just a little bit and just really created great relationships. And I still have a lot of friends that are now at the Austin Gensler office, because Austin opened while I was in Houston. And so some of my friends gravitated towards Austin naturally, who wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
And so it's funny how things kind of roll over from one world to the other, because now I'm working with those same people at Gensler on their projects, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
I find it interesting. You say, I guess the tile and stone business, you didn't see yourself going into that. What exactly, I know you said your father kind of pulled you in, but what exactly drew you back in?
I think the opportunity that when I was at Gensler, I had realized that I had almost kind of maxed out what I could do at my age. It's like I needed that extra boost. I wanted to see how I could do things on my own. And I liked that there was an opportunity that I could kind of reach for the stars, as silly as it may sound, and just go for it.
Right.
And it's funny, though, because when I started working for my father, I know how conservative he is. And his selections are conservative. The types of clothes he wears are conservative. Everything about him is conservative. Which did him well for so many years. And so when I came on board, you've got this outspoken person, female, that's not necessarily in the stone industry. It's kind of uncommon. And I just wanted to come in and throw a little bit of fire into things.
Yeah.
And, what kind of stone could you bring in, and how could you transform it? Because designers in town, they're going to be limited by what's available to them. And so if we're only bringing in conservative-looking materials and doing conservative details, then that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So my father always wanted to push the boundary for how far he could take the architectural details. Like if somebody came up with it, how far can we take it? Can we accomplish this? Is this possible? But on the design side of things, let's get something fun.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the clients around town, and especially the ones that we work with, they like to change their idea of what they think good design is. And it's going to morph. The style of projects that we do, types of materials that we work with is more in line with New York, overseas, and parts of California. It's not necessarily what Dallas or Houston are doing.
Right.
And so I saw an opportunity coming into this going, okay, let's bring in some new stones, let's bring in new patterns, let's push the boundaries. Everything that I import because we are an importer of slabs, is not something from a shopping list that are people that are necessarily people are asking for. Like, I need a gray stone. No, I want something that I have a connection to, because I know if I have a connection to it, I know that the staff will have it as well. Everyone in my showroom has an interior design architecture background. They all went to accredited universities.
Yeah.
So they're able to read plans, they're able to talk the talk, and they can usually pick up on my vision pretty fast.
That's good.
So when I'm importing, I'm browsing websites and emails galore. That's my early morning job.
Oh, wow.
And finding something that nobody else is looking at.
Yeah.
You know, something that I haven't seen before. Maybe it's a part of a quarry that we've been working with for years, but it's just not something that has ever been produced that looks like that.
Really?
That's what I want to see, and that's what I want to bring in. So when I remember proposing to my father, bringing in some different stones, he's like, I don't know, Ryan, this one's on you. If it doesn't work out, you know, we'll take a gamble. Maybe on this one we'll only get 3 slabs. I'm like, oh, come on, let's get like 20.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I don't know about that. And then they were selling. And then they did really well.
Because they're special and unique.
Yeah.
They're not something you can find around here.
And so some of the other slab yards started moving into town. They started trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is going to happen. Austin's big enough.
Sure.
They're looking at the market the same way that I'm looking at things. But I look at it more in terms of fashion. And stone has become a bit more architectural, despite it not being structural.
Right.
It's more of a feature instead of soft goods, you know, that you can replace.
Oh,
so,
for sure.
You know, let's push the boundaries. Let's see how far we can take it. Yeah.
So that's one of the things that really makes y'all unique is the fact that you're an importer.
Yeah.
Right? So there's, I mean, do you just buy whole slabs that are pre-finished, and they're polished, or do y'all do a lot of the cutting and fabrication at your shop? Or, I mean, kind of walk through that.
Sure.
My knowledge on that is very limited. So
that's fine. A little bit of everything.
Okay.
So we touch on, as I mentioned, the connection with Gensler. I've done cut to size jobs for commercial. So let's say they specify Pietra Cardoso, which is a schist, and they have a special size. It might be, I don't know, parallelogram. And so I will procure the material, have it cut to size overseas, and bring it over. So that's one aspect of what we do.
Okay.
Another is, like I mentioned, my early morning job of browsing pictures.
Yeah.
Those are going to be pre-finished slabs, blocks that they've already pulled from the ground, from the quarries, and then process them in Italy or wherever they may come from. Most times they come by the way of Italy, which is how I order them. And so those are going to be pre-finished. I might change the finish of it from honed to polished or vice versa. Maybe a slight texture, but that's going to be something that we bring in for inventory.
And these are slabs that only you really have access to, or like nobody can just get online and find what you're looking at. Like you have special networks and channels.
These are networks that their fathers worked with my father, and now I'm working with the son. You know, it's so we've traveled generations.
That's cool.
And I'm very particular about hiding this information, obviously.
I don't get I get it.
So, you know, there's the big mammoths like Antolini that have these really cool ads in Interior Design Magazine, and they're trying to blast this image of, you know, the ultimate design. But I like to go to the little ones that nobody knows about. And I know that nobody buys from them in Texas. And I like to keep that relationship there. And then they also watch the quality for me, because such a big part of it is getting material that is not necessarily what you think it's going to be. They call it the panini, where the outsides look good and then the inside of the bundle does not look good. I'm trying to avoid the inside is not so good. I want to make sure that from start to finish, it's always going to be the quality that it needs to be. And so one of the reasons why I stay working with the same people that my father did is because there's this level of respect and team there that we want to be there for each other.
Yeah. You know, if you're getting it through them, you know it's going to be high quality.
Yeah. Stuff always happens with stone. You're working with something that's millions of years old. So naturally, something is going to pop up.
Yeah.
Either when it arrives or in the container, maybe the container got too hot and the stone reacted to it.
Oh, really?
It could be a dry vein once we go to cut it. Those types of things you don't necessarily know about till it shows up.
Right.
But at least getting to when it first arrives, that's when we're as diligent as we can to make sure it's a good product.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you get the material here. Let's say hypothetically I'm a new client, right? And I'm shopping around for slabs. And so I come to you. Can you walk me through the process of, start to finish? What can I expect?
Mm-hmm. So we not only offer the cut to size, I will also sell slabs to other fabricators. I know that I cannot do all the fabrication and installation for every job in town. We tend to do some of the jobs that are a little bit more tricky and harder to accomplish. That's just what our team has been known for.
Yeah.
So I am happy to help anybody in any sort of way. So if a client wanted to come in and said, I have this builder, maybe they're outside of Austin, and I really fell in love with your slabs on Instagram, or something similar, then we'll show them the material, show them all of what it looks like. Because we do have that expertise of the installation and know the after effects of material, we can talk to what to expect out of the stone.
Yeah.
So it gives the client a great idea of how they're going to treat their counters and what's going to happen afterwards. We never want to oversell anything, but just want to be honest with them so that they can be prepared.
That's great.
Plus, there's great people in town that can help them if life happens.
Yeah.
So we'll show them the slabs. If they decide that maybe the builder works with us for fabrication, we're happy to do a bid. If not, either way, so we'll do a bid and send the proposal over to the appropriate people. And then once they approve it, then we usually have an on-site meeting with our field team and maybe a salesperson that goes as well. To get to know the lay of the land. What are we working with? Yes, we saw the plans, but let's really talk about the things that we need to know. Is there a really steep hill to get up to the front door?
Yeah.
Is there switchback stairs that necessarily we couldn't see, and a big piece can't fit into the space the same way? So we're looking at all of those things, and then helping the builder if there's anything like proper support that's needed, how we do one-piece tub decks, how we install walls, the sequence of events. And so we'll talk through those types of things, and then we send our templater out so that they can template the space. And we have two methods of templating, which is a digital and what I call the old school. The reason that we like the old school is because it's something tangible to hold on to.
Sure.
And we found that a lot of designers and homeowners really feel a sense of comfort when they can grab a hold of that template and put it up on the slab and see exactly what they're working with, or they can see exactly what the overhang is on the front of the counters. It doesn't always work, like if you have walls or tubs or some big span like a fireplace, that you need to do something digitally. But if it is a countertop, I would say 9 out of 10 times the old school method is preferred.
Yeah.
And so once we have those templates back, then we put them up on the slab and we invite the homeowner, the designer, whoever it might be, to come in and take a look of what their countertops are going to look like. So if there's a little dot, there's a speck, there's something that they want to avoid, that's the time. So there's no surprises.
Yeah.
Stone can be tricky, so we do reserve the right to work with it.
Yeah.
If something happens, my father always said that, if we threw away every piece that chipped or broke, we'd be out of business.
Oh, for sure.
It's just fragile.
Yeah.
I refer to stone as people. They're all unique.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, for sure. And fragile too, like people. And you also have a system, this Slabsmith system. What is that exactly?
Yeah, so Slabsmith is, it's a photographing, there's different versions on the market, and the one that we have photographs the slabs, and then we put it into, I've jokingly referred to it as a flat Stanley, so that you can see exactly how the pattern is going to match onto the countertops or the walls or the pieces. And because the veins within a slab do shift within the thickness of the material, we are forever adjusting every single piece to make sure that it lines up to the best that it can. The other time it's a great opportunity is, let's say the client has a budget and they might, in a perfect world, need 5 slabs of Calcutta Gold, but they really only want to spend money on 3. They can still make it happen in 3, but we're going to use that Slabsmith technology to kind of see how we can make the best out of every world and get them the most bang for their buck within those slabs that they can have.
Do you ever have a client that doesn't have a budget?
It's funny because we have a lot that come in and say, I don't have a budget, and then eventually they do.
You're right. Yeah, there's a ceiling for sure. We'll find it.
Yeah. We've been very blessed with some really great projects, and so we've had some that have had designers come in from east to west coast, and they usually have slightly larger than the ones that we've seen just locally. I never really meet the homeowners.
Right.
They have people that have people.
Yeah.
But yeah, we usually get a few of those, but
Yeah.
I think everybody has a budget.
For sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I like y'all's Slabsmith system for that reason, because, a lot of clients or designers are, not local. They're out of town. And so it's great to be able to lay out the entire assembly, right? I mean, it could be, niches and shelves and all these parts and pieces that you don't really see if you're just standing there looking at a flat,
Right.
two-dimensional slab.
Right.
So being able to have that Slabsmith that shows the veining and all the pieces and the color as close as we can get, right?
Sure.
I mean, photographs are always different, but to try to model the finished product as most as you can up front, I think that's a really valuable tool.
It's also good because, let's say hypothetically, a drawer front breaks.
Mm-hmm.
You can go back to that Slabsmith and go, okay, where were the veins hitting on that one piece that meets another piece, and how can we match it again? Or maybe a useful tool for the installers. I think it's a great use of technology.
No, I do too. I think it's great.
Yeah.
So y'all not only do you do countertops and slabstone, you do tile as well, right?
Yes. So since my family has been in this industry for a long time, we go way back with some tile companies like Country Floors and Pratt & Larson. I joke that Pratt & Larson, they're made in the U.S.
Okay.
It's a ceramic tile company. And they still have some of the OG squirrels and berries like tile and some chickens and things like that. They've come a long way since then. But back when I was repricing those books in high school, that's what I would physically go write the new prices on for those types of tile lines that have just been around decades and decades and decades. So we have great long relationships with companies that have been around forever, and some newer ones as well. So one of the fun parts about being an importer is I can also import tile. So if we have a really big job, let's say it's a porcelain tile for an entire house and they need 5,000 square feet, then I'm able to bring that in without a problem. We use our warehouse, and we bring all the tile into our warehouse so that all the sales team, can quality control what has come in. Not only do we do lot photos of every tile, we bring in samples of those lots, and then we bring it into our warehouse to make sure that if there's any broken pieces, we're taking care of that before anybody comes and picks up the material. Unlike just drop shipping it to a house, it becomes a little bit more cumbersome if you have to work through the challenges. So we try to take care of all of that. The only inconvenience is someone coming to pick it up. But so we have tile lines from all over the world. I might be a little biased towards wanting to get Italian slabs or slabs by way of Italy because of the quality that it is. Tile, I'm a little bit more flexible, so we might work with Turkey, Italy, Spain, U.S., all over. So the goal is I want something that is going to represent quality. So if you open a box of Carrara, you're not finding yellow tiles in it. And that's out there. You get what you pay for. But I just don't want to be that. I want to see that we have a happy customer at the end of the day, and we're not doing return after return after return. So we have tiles from all over the place, handmade by artisans, mass-produced, prices ranging from $8 to $500, depending on what it is.
Wow, crazy. Well, to go back to your note about quality, that kind of brings me to, your installers. You have some of the best installers in the state of Texas.
Thank you.
And I mean, and they've been with your company since the beginning. Yeah. And what a testament to the quality of y'all's company and the family, to be able to retain that level of talent. And some of the things they pull off it's like a work of art, really. And so I know y'all are fortunate to have such an amazing crew of guys who can do what they do.
It's not just the installers. We have warehouse guys that have been with us from the very beginning. We have fabricators that have been with us from the very beginning. So we have just under 30 employees, and the tenure, I mean, there's more that have been with us for more than 10 years than there are less.
Wow.
And it's phenomenal. The ones that have been there the longest, I'm usually coaching them like, okay, let's teach the newer guys, save your backs. Let's do what we can to get some
Right.
get some strong muscles in here, help you out. And they do. And they do a great job. They are a little particular, but I think
It takes a lot of patience. I've sat there and watched them. I know what you mean. Yeah.
I think it's going to come in time.
Yeah.
Eventually they'll have to loosen the reins just a little bit.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
They do such a good job. And my father always said that he wanted to make the environment safe. It needed to be safe no matter what. So that's why we have the cranes. That's why we have the lifting machines. That's why we have all the carts that we do. If there was a Iron Man suit that we could buy to put slabs up on the wall, we would buy it.
Yeah.
Because to me and to my father, it's just not an option. You just do it. So that our processes in the shop for keeping the air clean, since silica is a big topic, keeping the environment clean and having all that filtration is important. The insurance also, we pay approximately 60-70% of insurance for these guys to have a great plan. And life happens sometimes where you need that. And we're always going to take care of them, and they've taken care of us. Yeah.
That's definitely like, the business side of the business. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've faced over the years?
I think anytime you have people involved, there's a lot of personalities. And I think that's everybody's got a different opinion. And, fortunately for me, management just kind of flows. So it's like I let it roll off my back and move on to the next thing. But I think in terms of what we do outside of the company, the challenge of designers and architects coming up with things and then trying to meet their expectation is probably going to be one of the hardest things that we do.
Really?
Because, and I found this at Gensler too, the senior designer would come up with something and have no idea how to build it.
Right, yeah.
And
I know.
I'm like the junior person, like, slabs don't come that long. You can't make that happen without a seam, or, it's not that thick. You can't make that happen without customizing the thickness. And that's not common. So it's finding that happy medium of not offending somebody when their design doesn't quite work out, but figuring out a way to propose something that's going to be a good end result. I hated details when I worked at Gensler. Like, absolutely hated them. And I am really good at them.
Yeah.
Because I do them all day, every day. And oftentimes I find sketching up a detail and sending it back to an architect, like, this is what I think you should do.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not what they want to do, but it gets the juices flowing.
That's true.
And, something put out into the universe to work from. So,
That's true. Yeah.
That's
Sometimes, like, it kind of, everything gets gummed up a little bit, and you got to just put something out there and go out on a limb to try to free everything up and get the conversation going again. Yeah.
Right.
You're absolutely right. I mean, that's spot on. Like, sometimes the things that come up with, and you're just like, they just sent a picture, like a Instagram picture or a Pinterest photo. Like, this is what I want. I'm like, great. Like, how do we do that? And it's like, I don't know, figure it out.
Or pictures of slabs that are actually porcelain.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a funny one because they're perfect. They've got like and so that's how they make porcelain is they pick the best slab that I think anyone has ever seen, and then they mass produce it in book match form. And so we get these images, and it's like, oh, that's a porcelain.
Oh, really?
It doesn't exist anymore.
Gosh,
not for another few years at least.
Well, I had a question. I wanted to know, in your position, who do you look up to? Who inspires you?
Obviously, I've mentioned my father a lot.
Yeah.
He didn't come with a design background per se. He's an accounting brain. And so I think looking to him and how he processes numbers and that side of the business is always fascinating to me. I mean, growing up, he's like, you're not doing your math work right. But you got to show your work, show it this way, or you'd find a shortcut. And so he was always challenging me, but at the same time, always supporting me. And I know, when I'm not in the room, he's my biggest fan.
Yeah.
And when I am in the room, he's just beaming. So he's always been a true inspiration to me, and it's pretty cool to be able to carry on the legacy and take it in my version, but still have my dad kind of in the background rooting me on. And otherwise, I find it a little bit everywhere. I get really excited for people when they succeed.
That's true.
I think it's just I'm proud of the team when they can accomplish something that I'm like, dang, that's gonna be hard. And then they do it, and I'm like, yeah, way to go, you know, and supporting them. And I'm also a big fan of other fabricators in town. And
really?
Yeah, I feel like maybe prior to me coming on board, I think there was a little bit more animosity between them.
Okay.
And maybe because we started selling slabs to others, I want to help them feel more comfortable with maneuvering a 2cm marble that might have been scary before. If other fabricators are going to show a good install, I'm going to be the first one to clap for them on Instagram, because that's what it's all about, is being there for each other, because we can't do all the work, and I want to see everybody else succeed, because that's how we all succeed.
That's very well said. I think that's great. To kind of piggyback off of what you said about, challenges, how do you continue to raise the bar, push the boundary, with not just yourself personally, but company-wide?
So I've had this thought in the last week, because I always set a goal for myself for the next year towards this time of year every year.
Yeah.
And a couple years ago, it was doing more commercial cut to size, which I did. And so, those jobs are like, they take 5 years to come to fruition. So it takes some time. But this next year's goal is, there's a lot of slab yards in town that carry a lot of the same thing. And that's fine, because there's a lot of really great homes that need those things. But I want to do something a little bit different. So we're about to get our permit from the city of Austin to cover our outdoor yard. And which means it opens me up to have more marbles. And so I want to push the boundaries a little bit on the marbles that we bring in, all different price points. So that, and then also quartzite. I don't want the quartzite that everybody else is carrying. I've gotten my hand in multiple areas of quartzites that I have not seen in Texas.
What's uncommon in the quartzite?
It's going to be pattern and color.
Okay.
A lot of people like the neutrals, the very simple, and you see the same names over and over again. And that's fine for them, and I'm happy that they're selling them, but I just don't want to be another one of those that just sells the same thing. So I'm looking for something I saw one this morning that I was like, oh, that's spectacular. And it's just different. And I know the more that they quarry into these mountains, the more that they're going to find things. And so maybe in 2 years, the quartz I bring in today is going to be at the other yards. I'm going to have moved on to another one at that point. And so I want my goal to be that we're bringing in more unique marbles, travertines as well, not necessarily the Mexican, but the Italian travertines, and which are a little bit different in color. And then, some quartzites that just look a little bit different. So that's part of it. The other thing that I've made a goal for myself is there's some new builders moving into town, and we don't necessarily know them. I've gotten a bid here and there. We're working with them. There's 4 new ones that we're starting projects with that I haven't worked with before.
Okay.
And as I mentioned, walking into this, the outskirts of Austin are really kind of growing.
Yes, they certainly are.
And we don't necessarily go too far outside of Austin, but I'd really like to see that some of these new generations are kind of growing up with us. And there's the OG contractors in town, which are fabulous, and I love working with them. I'd also like to see that some of the more middle high end are growing as well, because I think like to the comment of the fabricators, when you elevate everybody, everybody does good. So I'd love to meet with them and get to know them a little bit more, and that helps some of my other sales staff that might need more projects that they can take on too.
Do you do a lot of events or sponsoring different events to try to get your name out there and meet these new builders, or what all do you?
That might be part of my problem. The answer is no. So we have for 25 years been word of mouth. And so we have, I think one time we paid for a magazine article, and it was to say thank you to Austin. It
Okay.
wasn't necessarily to promote our work or to show pictures or any of that. It was just a pure thank you. So we always want to take care of people, and I think that's why people keep coming back to us, is that if we made a mistake, we make it right. Or if we didn't make a mistake, we still try to make it right.
Yeah.
So no, I haven't done that. What I have done is I'll sponsor a post on Instagram just because the algorithms are kind of strange and people don't necessarily see pictures of slabs unless
That's true.
they pop up or it happens to be the perfect time on the perfect day.
Right.
Just that's probably the extent of it. We are in the AIA home tour, which typically is every year for us.
Yeah.
So we have a home there, and we'll sponsor that. But we do plan, once the canopy is done for outside of our building, to have a grand reopening. And
Okay.
so, more to come on that.
So more on the marketing and the Well, that's exciting. Well, I wanted to end on one question, which was is, if you could change one thing about the construction industry, what would it be?
So for me, I think it's the being a female in this. I've never really taken to, oh, woe is me. I'm not that type of person. And I think what I'd like to see is maybe not one thing, but I'd like to see more females finding their voice in what they do. And it is still a male-dominated industry, and I think there's a lot of really smart gals out there that do amazing things. I think that's one thing. Let's see. Something else I think is more that camaraderie with architects, so that we can come up with details together.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Details that actually work.
Details that work.
Yeah.
And help them out while they're helping us out too. I'm always here for that.
Well, that's perfect. I think that's a perfect way to end, and I agree. And Brian, I know you're busy, and I appreciate your time coming on. So it's always a pleasure getting to talk to you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.